Hi, I'm Bill Galbreth. I'm the program director for Digital Arts and Design, which is a bachelor's program, and also graphic design, which is an associate's program here at Full Sail. I come from a production background, which means I was creating digital content and working with different companies to try and help their marketing possibilities using this new tool called a computer way back in the day. And I was really, really impressed with not only what you could do with it, but how much power it gave to the creator. I have a degree in fine art, also a degree in education, but my degree in fine art was my passion. And when you get into design, sometimes you have to give up some art for the client. And I always thought it was really interesting how I could take my art and design what the client wanted, and then take a step back and polish it up a little and raise it to my standards, and then thereby give the client what he needed and also satisfy my own creativity. How I came to know about Full Sail is kind of an interesting story. I hired about 25 multimedia designers at my last company that I owned, and the last 3 were from Full Sail, and this was back when we were just an associate's program. And typically before I'd come to Full Sail, I would hire experts, so I'd hire an expert videographer, an expert Photoshop operator, and then an expert webmaster, which is what we used to call them. And then I was introduced to a Full Sail grad, and I hired him, and their expert knowledge blew the quote-unquote experts away, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't 40-60 or anything like that. It was more like 80-20. They knew so much more, and that wasn't what impressed me, though. Yeah, it's great that they knew a lot. I thought maybe this guy's just a freak, and he just knows all this stuff and works like crazy. It turns out it's the education model, because I hired 2 other Full Sail grads, and what really impressed me was the breadth of their training, not just the depth, but the ability for our grads to take a graphic, a piece of audio, a piece of video, maybe some motion graphics, and put them all together and then implement them out into the world, whether it's using a website or a print piece or a broadcast or even a digital cell phone. Being able to become a digital content producer and not just a creator is what we're trying to do here at Full Sail. Our Digital Arts and Design degree program is the broadest program here at Full Sail, because I think the title kind of gives it away. It's about the digital arts. So that means I have to train our students on how to create all kinds of digital content, whether it's still or dynamic or driven on a back-end database or seen through a camera. So we have to teach them how to do design, and what does that mean, and now implement the design in a 2D world, and what does that mean, and then think about it in a 3D world, and now take your graphics and move them around, and now videotape them, and let's put them out on the web, and let's do a print portfolio, let's do some interactive pieces. And we're kind of stair-stepping them through, teaching design really heavily all along the way, and then teaching the technology needed to implement that design, but culminating in that experience of being able to put multiple types of media together to create a true, what I like to call a multimedia extravaganza piece. And that's important, because what it shows the employer is not only can you design, not only are you good at the tools, but you know how to implement it in multiple formats out into the world. And that really is key for today's marketing needs. Here at Full Sail, in our degree program, we concentrate heavily in the Adobe package, the Creative Suite package for designers, and also some Apple tools, and I'll go through them. Basically, it's Photoshop and Illustrator are the bedrock of the design industry, so we do a lot of work with Photoshop and Illustrator. After that is After Effects, and that's where we take the graphics that they've created and put them on a timeline and animate them. And get them ready for all kinds of things, and broadcasts and insertion into videos and things of that nature. And then we talk about 3D, and we introduce them to 3D Studio Max, and we've got actually 3 months where they learn how to create and model, and then animate, and then create a scene. Now, the scene that they do in 3D might be a virtual set, or a set that you walk into that looks like you're surrounded by fancy computers, or you could be on a beach, or you could be in anything that you can imagine you can create in 3D and then walk onto it. That's a really cool way to show off your final projects, because as we get further into the program, you start learning about Flash and HTML and CSS, not to make you a coder, but to give you the tools to implement your designs onto the web. And then we get into final project, where they're going to really tweak up their individual projects that they've done throughout the degree program, and they're going to try and present them. And that gets us back to the virtual set. Imagine, if you will, that you're an employer looking to hire somebody, and a candidate from Full Sail walks in, and they're showing you their work. in a video format where they're actually talking to you and presenting their work on their own virtual set, or like a 3D gallery that they've created, and they're pointing to the work behind them, which zooms up to the front screen so you can see it and then goes back, and that student can keep talking about it. Now, this presentation might be given on a CD or DVD on a computer screen, but he could easily just as easily be showing this on a Trio or an iPhone, something of that nature to the client. And that's where I think the power of this degree program is. We're being able to put it all together and show it off in multiple formats. So we're definitely teaching all the high-end skills. The Apple products that we teach for video are Final Cut HD, and Motion and Soundtracks are the main Apple programs that we teach here. So what we do is we try and find the industry standard pro application and teach that. And there's lots of different industry standards and applications out there. So we want to teach our foundations really, really well. So for example, if they come in and we're teaching the film editing program Final Cut, and it's a job for Avid or Premiere, rather than the grad saying, well, I'm a Final Cut editor, they should say, I'm a nonlinear editor, I can do this. And then they'll go and open up Premiere. They'll know the function of it, they just got to find the actual button for where this transition is, or how to move from one segment of tape to another. Digital Arts and Design has a really important course called Digital Storytelling, and in that particular course, we're teaching folks how to use these tools to promote themselves as business people. Now, the tools I'm talking about are social networking sites, anywhere, Facebook, MySpace, I'm in likewithyou.com, all these new sites that are coming up. I know a lot of people use those sites to promote themselves, but if you just have a generic site that's a template-based site, unless your stuff's really, really good, you're not going to get that listen. So using graphics as a way to draw people into those professional sites is a really important key. Using graphics and audio together can be really, really powerful, and they need to get their message out there. So how do you get your message out? Basically, today the best way to do it is via the web. You can have your own website, and that's important, and our students learn how to do that. I know a lot of bands and artists have their own websites, and they typically need someone to update them and keep it fresh. And then there's the social networking sites that I just think are huge. And I also believe that we're at the tip of the iceberg as far as these technologies go. It's only going to get more and more important for people to combine good sound and good audio, good graphics, and good audio together in a compelling site to drive people to listen to what their craft is. Gosh, the future of digital media and what's it going to look like? That's a good question. I do believe that it's going to get more and more virtual. We're going to have more and more websites and more ways for people to digitally enjoy music, in effect freeing them from their computer or from a book or whatever, so that they can enjoy it on the train going to work or walking down the sidewalk or whatever it happens to be. However, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of printed material or art that you can hold and look at. And I think that's why a lot of designers like to do print, because everything's so virtual. It's really fun for a designer to actually be able to hold the design he made, even smell it. And I don't think that's going to go away with music either. People are always going to enjoy looking at something. Now, whether these graphics are part of an iTunes visualization or some sort of slideshow that's pre-set up, I think more and more artists are going to include visuals as a part of their music, so the artist has control, because it's feeding the passion. Who has the message better than the artist or the designer to put it out there? And we don't want it to get so digital that it goes away and nobody sees it anymore. It's hard to have a collector's item, that's just digital. And things tend to disappear after a while when they're digital. So I do think there's always going to be a place for media. Now, I'm old enough to remember watching the record go round and round and round while I'm staring at the record cover. And while you don't need to do that to listen to music, what it does do is it hypnotizes you and allows you to listen to the music on a whole different level. So I think those kind of things are never going to go away, and I hope we see more of them. Rather than placing a value, negative or positive, I think it's what the artist does with it. It's a box that the artist has to design in or create in these days. For example, when MTV first started, one of the groundbreaking videos that came out was Peter Gabriel's Shock the Monkey. Completely digital, and it was all stop motion, and it was really cool, and it blew everybody away. Another example is Blues Traveler, and when they did that video where they were behind the scenes and they had the good-looking people up front, they were playing off that sense. So all the people watching TV, of course, we want to be interested in what sells better than sex. But a lot of artists want to go further than that. I think U2's done a really great job on some of their videos as well of taking their message and making it art. Not just a story, not just pretty people, but art. And as an artist, that's what I'm most interested in. And I think if you can combine art that elevates the message of the music, that would be awesome. I can only imagine what the Beatles would have come up with if they'd had today's technology back then. The sound would be just as powerful, but can you imagine the powerful graphics that would have gone along with Sgt. Pepper's album, for example? I think David Crosby's right that it does take a little bit away from the experience if you're just in a closed room and just listening to what we used to do, a record album, where it's nothing but sound and you can concentrate. The problem is we're visual people. And studies on the brain have shown that 80% of our information is coming from the eyes and 20% is coming from the ears. So if you know that and you're an artist and you're making music, you've got that 80% visual to work with. What do you want to say with it? I think a lot of times the artist or the director, whoever's in charge, wants to go the easy route and do what's been done before and what's been successful and put pretty people out there and jumping around and all that kind of thing. But the serious artist needs to look at the world holistically and decide, well, it's not just this piece. Where does this piece fit inside my message? Where does my message fit inside the world? And that's where a lot of creative people can get together and make meaningful videos that have meaningful sound. Once you add visuals to sound, the sound always recedes because the brain is taking more visual in. So I don't think it's going away, but I think instead of thinking about it, oh, the world's coming to an end, you go, well, I've got some great music to play and I want to either create or hire somebody to create some excellent graphics so that it'll elevate my message. What does somebody do if they want to get into digital arts? That's a big, broad question, but that's exactly the question I faced a couple of years ago. I'm a generalist. I like to make the computer dance. I like to do things on the computer to communicate. It doesn't matter to me if it's print or audio or video. And my big quest in life was, how do I get people to pay me to do what I love to do? And the answer I found is to get people to pay you to do what they want you to do. Do it well and deliver it on time, and then you become a partner and kind of can guide them along the way. So if you're interested in getting into the digital arts, whether it's more towards the graphic end or more towards the video end or more towards the audio end, I think number one, you have to identify your passion. And number two, you have to stop being a passive listener, observer, viewer, whatever it happens to be. So, for example, next time you're flipping through a magazine, stop on something and ask yourself, do I like it? If not, why? If why don't I like it? What would I do to make it better? If you like it, try and play the same example. What about this do I like? What is it that's drawing my attention? Again, there's no right or wrong answers, but it forces you to start thinking. When you're listening to some music, oh, I really like this. Why? What about it do you like? What about it would you now that you know what you like, would you elevate a little bit more to, and it's the same with video. It's the same when you're picking a pair of shoes off the shelf. The students in digital arts and design really design the world they live in. And they're starting to design the world I live in too. So it's important that we teach them well and graduate good designers, because I live in this world and I don't want it to fall apart. So I think that if you are interested in any kind of these creative endeavors, go for it. There's tons of work out there. The more creative you are, the better. And by that I mean, if it can be done by a computer without a person, it's going to get shipped overseas. So any kind of creative work that you can do is job security. And that's what we try and teach here at Digital Arts and Design.
Right. That's great. Well, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.